In my opinion, the hardest thing in life is erasing someone from your life who has been with you for 18 years. You shared every moment of life with them, laughed together, and grieved together. And the most difficult part is accepting the fact that you can no longer be with them. Unfortunately, many people are pursuing new feelings instead of enjoying what they have. It has been 3 years since our divorce proceedings were completed, and there is a profound significance behind it, which is a testament to the power of love over physical intimacy. However, people often realize this only when it's too late. In what some might consider a fulfilling life, we enjoyed the pleasure of raising 4 children: Amy, Brad, Carla, and Daryl, affectionately known as the alphabet children. After Daryl was born, I had surgery to prevent further expansion of the alphabet. And Amy and Brad are now in college, while Carla and Daryl continue to live with Mary, my ex-wife. This led to the collapse of our seemingly happy family, where we seemed content, were actively involved parents, and supported everything the children pursued. Like many young couples, we faced financial challenges. I worked in a manufacturing plant, and Mary worked at a local Walmart store. Once the older children started school, the younger ones went to a daycare center, a compromise dictated by the demands of modern society when both of us couldn't be home to care for them. Reflecting on how our parents and grandparents managed, when women typically did not work, I ponder whether it is societal shackles or material desires that should be blamed. We crave possessions and instant gratification. At first, our love life flourished as it usually does for young couples. However, as the family expanded, intimate moments became scarce, which might be a common experience. Time constraints led us to believe that we did not have the luxury to express such emotions. Looking back, the real issue was our tendency to take each other for granted. Our once passionate love life devolved into hurried encounters. Although we achieved physical climaxes, the depth of our early emotions was missing. It became mundane, not because love had faded, but because we failed to infuse it where it truly mattered. When I was promoted to a supervisory role, our financial situation improved. As the children grew, occasional outings like dinners and movies injected some sparkle into our somewhat dull relationship. This seemed like a phase many marriages go through, where love still exists, but familiarity breeds complacency. One day, Mary came home expressing her desire to socialize with her female colleagues. Given that our children were now old enough to be self-sufficient, I saw no problem with it. This happened about 4 years ago. Mary looked lovely in her casual pants and shirt. Like many women, she often worried about her weight, but no matter her weight, she always managed to look great. When she came back, I asked her about her evening, and she shared the details of her outing with her colleagues. Although I harbored no resentment towards Walmart, I couldn't help but notice that many women there were either divorced or separated. I expressed my concern, hinting that these people might not be ideal company for Mary. This led to an argument because she felt I was belittling her friends. I never said such a thing. I defended myself by saying I was just worried that these women might be looking for relationships and you could get caught up in them. Her reaction indicated that I had touched a nerve. We had been together for 18 years, and I knew her emotions well. Out of curiosity, I asked her if she had danced with any men that night. After a moment's hesitation, she admitted, "I didn't do anything wrong. Yes, I danced with a few guys, that's all." Although I sensed there might be more to the story, I decided not to press further at that moment. At that time, she mentioned her plan to go out with her friends once a month. Although I wasn't very happy about it, I chose to wait and see. The next month, she wore a skirt and pantyhose, and as I watched her prepare, she remained silent. I told her that I would wait for her when she came back after midnight. I noticed she had changed and worriedly asked, "You left wearing pantyhose, where are they now?" "It was too hot, so I took them off," she casually replied. "Mary, this is getting out of hand, we need to talk," I insisted. She asked me to leave the room so she could undress. I pointed out that she had been undressing in front of me for 18 years, questioning what was so special about that night. In an unusual move, I stepped forward and grabbed her arm, something I had never done before. "Jerry, please, I beg you, Don't, she pleaded as I reached under her skirt to find she wasn't wearing underwear. She had anticipated my move, pushed me away, and began to cry, excited by another man's touch. Well, I suppose that explains the absence of the pantyhose, doesn't it? I commented. I'm sorry, Jerry, it just happened. I had a few drinks at the party. Joe kept telling me how beautiful I was. He kissed me, touched me. I've never been with anyone but you, Jerry. The girls praised Joe, and I let it happen. There wasn't just one man, you had more than one man, right? When Joe took me to bed, I was on the bed, and a few other men also took advantage of me. They didn't take you, you willingly let them all have you. What does our marriage mean to you? Have you ever thought about me or the children? Jerry, I'm sorry, it wasn't like the love you and I have, it was raw sex, and I liked it. Barb, another girl, married, told me she and her husband enjoy swapping. I don't want to lose you, Jerry, please come with me, give it a try, she pleaded. I needed time to think, my thoughts were racing. I told her I didn't want to talk more at that moment, I couldn't comprehend what had just happened. We agreed to talk the next day, and I slept on the couch all night. The next morning, after the children left, I got dressed and went to work. Mary was still sleeping off her eventful night. Unable to concentrate, I took the afternoon off and went to her workplace. That day she was a cashier, and her friend Barb was at the next register. Why aren't you at work, dear? Barb kept looking me over. I'm meeting our lawyer Jeff today, I'm getting a divorce, I said, turning to leave. Mary called after me to wait, torn between our situation and her job. I ignored her and quickly left, packing my belongings. I left a note for the children, explaining the reason for our divorce. I wonder how she will explain it to them. Probably, as she often does, by putting the blame on me. I found myself at my parents' house. They are in their 60s. And have celebrated over 40 years of marriage. I told them I had separated from Mary. And expected to divorce. I could feel their unease. Because they liked Mary. This was very unexpected for them. I needed a place to stay. I accepted their offer to use the fully renovated basement, equipped with a comfortable bedroom, a small kitchen, and the arrangement of a living room. They assured me that I could stay for as long as I wanted because they rarely used the basement anymore, mainly because they didn't like the stairs. This sentiment led them to move the washing machine and dryer upstairs after Mom had her hip replacement surgery 2 years ago. I might be getting a bit off topic because I'm going to share this story, as there's a lot to unfold. I understand your curiosity about Mary, the children's reactions, the lawyer's perspective, and the viewpoints of the other individuals involved. When I spoke with my parents, I vaguely mentioned that Mary wanted more freedom and found it difficult to elaborate on her inclination to pursue relationships with others. I chose not to disclose this to my parents, simply conveying that we had different views on various issues and couldn't reach an agreement. Although my parents were not satisfied with this explanation, it was all I could reveal at the moment. Later, I consulted Jeff, our lawyer, who told me that Mary had contacted him twice. I inquired about his representation, pressuring him to clarify whether he was on her side or mine, Jerry. She doesn't want a divorce, she believes you can work this out, Jeff explained. Answer my question, Jeff, are you her lawyer or mine? I insisted, I am her lawyer, Jerry. She contacted me first, and I took her case. If you call me, I will be on your side. Please tell her, Jerry, that you both are my friends, and I hate to see you heading towards a divorce court. Did she tell you why I left Jeff? Why I asked for a divorce, I asked. She mentioned an argument about her going out, getting drunk, and being unfaithful to you. Let's be honest, Jeff, she went out against my reservations and slept with 3 men, then suggested swapping partners to her friend. That's your case, Jeff. I am contacting Sally Black, who we all know is the best in the industry. Once we make a plan, I will have her get in touch with you. Thank you, Jeff, I said and turned to leave. Sally is renowned for being the top divorce lawyer in the state, known for her tough and uncompromising approach. I know several men who faced her in court, and they all ended unfavorably. When I contacted Sally, she quickly scheduled an appointment for the next day and advised me not to communicate with Mary before we met. Concerned about the children, I asked, and she suggested letting my parents inform them that we would discuss matters in the coming days. After my parents spoke with our eldest daughter, Amy, Mary called our home a few hours later, wanting to speak with me. I gestured refusal, and my father relayed that my lawyer instructed me not to talk to her. That day, he assured Mary that I would contact her after consulting with my lawyer. On the phone, my father expressed his confusion about the situation and mentioned how hurt I looked, feeling anger towards Mary for trying to shift the blame onto me. I decided to confide in my father privately, sharing the truth and pleading with him not to reveal it to my mom, as it would devastate her, considering her fondness for Mary. My father's eyes welled up with tears, and he left the room, showing his emotional side. The next day, I went to work, informing my manager about my divorce proceedings and instructing not to forward any calls from Mary unless it was an emergency. Immersed in work, it helped distract me from my chaotic thoughts about Mary. After work, I met with Sally, an elegant and business-focused professional. She straightforwardly asked, "Jerry, what is the outcome you want here?" In response, I admitted uncertainty, expressing my love for Mary but explaining that I could not accept the lifestyle she chose. I emphasized my concerns for the children and my aversion to open relationships, acknowledging my worries that, despite believing she wouldn't bring random people home, this expectation was shattered by her previous infidelity. Sally conveyed that many people go through such situations every day, and we could proceed according to your preferences. I understand you don't want this to become public knowledge, especially for the children. You need to provide support for them, and we can easily determine the amounts fairly. You have the advantage in deciding how much to give or keep. Basically, you are in control here. Although we might consider strategically using this relationship to resolve the issue, our final stance will be irreconcilable differences. Is that okay for you? As my legal advisor, I will follow your guidance, I replied. Now that you earn a considerable salary and considering she is also working, we might agree on $500 per week in child support, which we can reduce by $50 per week as the children grow up, with no spousal support required once all children are over 18, and financial support ceases. You will also be responsible for their medical expenses, and regarding higher education, that's optional and up to you to decide. Legally, you are obligated for the next 6 years. Given that your eldest is 17 and the youngest is 12, are you satisfied with this plan, or do you have other preferences? What about the savings in my retirement plan? All savings will be split evenly, and joint bills will be resolved accordingly. Since you have 2 cars, you can each keep one. Your retirement fund is entirely yours, and we won't let her touch it. The house and furniture are the remaining items. How do you want to handle them? Our house is worth about $200,000, with a mortgage of about $60,000. However, since my children live there, I'm not sure what the best course of action is. I have a suggestion. In a situation like yours, revenge is not the goal, and the children are involved. I suggest letting her keep the house until the children grow up and leave the house, say around 21 years old. At that time, the house will be sold, and the proceeds will be split, or one party can buy the house at half price, minus the outstanding mortgage. She will be responsible for half of the house payments. So much to sift through. Why I wasn't enough for her, 18 years wasted. I think we can do this. If Mary or Jeff decides to challenge it, I asked, we bring out the heavy artillery and bring up infidelity. I'm quite sure they wouldn't want that. If they do, we will ask for custody and an equal division of assets. No alimony, considering she won't have the children. I took the next day off, and Sally called Jeff, telling him she had a proposal for him and Mary, asking if they could meet at her office at noon. Of course, Jeff hesitated to go to Sally's office. But he agreed, knowing he was in a no-win situation. Jeff and Mary arrived at the same time. I guess. Jeff instructed her to wait for him in the parking lot. We sat at the table like this. Sally and I on one side, Jeff and Mary on the other. Jeff spoke first. He knew Sally and was not happy about being on the opposing side. Nice to see you again, Sally. I know your ways. And how you like to get straight to business. Before you make us an offer, Mary would like to speak with Jerry privately. No, I said she had already said it the night before. I will speak with her after the papers are signed. Everyone here knows why I am seeking a divorce. I looked directly at Mary. If you are worried about your love life being exposed, please consider my proposal. I think it's quite generous. Sally added that the issue has been resolved, Mrs. Cohen. Jerry has made you a very fair offer. Sally handed a copy to Mary and a copy to Jeff. He will cite irreconcilable differences as the cause of separation. As you can see, he has offered you a decent income when the children are at home. The only contentious issue here is the house. I believe Jerry has been quite fair in his proposal. Also in this regard, Jeff spoke again. We need time to review this document and consider possible counteroffers. Sally, I will discuss with Mary and get back to you in the next few days. Jeff, let's make it clear. There will be no counteroffers. If you reject this proposal, I think it would be very unwise. Mr. Cohen will file a lawsuit for adultery and seek custody of the children and the house. Mary looked up, tears streaming down her cheeks. Sally took a tough stance, playing hardball. Seeing Mary's pain made me deeply distressed. Mary hastily grabbed a pen, asking where to sign, without even reading the document. Her tears were uncontrollable, for fear of losing custody of the children. Mrs. Cohen, please try to calm down. Sally urged that Jerry will not harm you or the children. Consider reviewing the terms for a day or so. As suggested by Jeff, maybe we missed something. I apologize for my assertive tone, but it's crucial to emphasize. We are offering a generous settlement. Jerry is ensuring your well-being and that of your children. Please take this document. Consult your lawyer. Jeff and I can discuss it again tomorrow. Sally offered Mary a box of tissues. Mary took a few, her tears subsided a bit. She looked at me. Jerry, no matter what you think, I still love you. I had hoped we could be apart for a while. Maybe reconcile. But it seems you have made up your mind. No, Mary, you made the decision for me. You wanted freedom, to do as you please. I am giving it to you. I only ask. Keep your affairs away from my children. Otherwise, I will take them away. That's a promise. Mary continued to cry and hurriedly left the building. Jeff said goodbye to us, assuring Sally he might see her tomorrow or the day after. Sally turned to me, commenting that it looks like I will win in this situation. I countered that there are no winners, only losers. I lost the only woman I have ever loved. My children now live in a single-parent household. This is not a victory. We just reached a fair agreement. My daughter Amy brought the two youngest to my parents' house to see me. I was happy to see them. They kept asking about our family situation. I kept explaining that their mother and I disagreed on some major issues, leading us to decide to divorce. I assured them, even though their mother and I are not together, we will continue to be involved in their lives. I promised Daryl, I will be there on time for your games. Carla, when volleyball season comes, you can count on me cheering for you in the stands. I will always be involved in your lives. After hugging and kissing them, I shared my phone number, emphasizing they can always reach me. Brad arrived later, with a serious question. Dad, did you cheat on Mom? No, Brad. I would never betray your mom in that way. Why would you think that? He explained. Well, my friend Jim at school and our neighbor Travis both mentioned their parents divorced because of infidelity. I just wanted to make sure you didn't do something like that. I love you, Dad. I will miss you. Brad, you won't miss me. I am not leaving the country. I will always be here for all of you. It just takes some time to adjust to our new situation. The divorce has been officially finalized. I fulfilled my promise to the children, attending most of their school activities. At these occasions, I often ran into Mary. Despite her personal affairs, she maintained a discreet manner. It's worth mentioning, Mary and I have always maintained a friendly relationship. We get together for the children's birthdays and other special events. The only understanding we have: she won't discuss her dating life with me. Our conversations revolve around the children, holidays, and my parents. No topic is taboo, except her love affairs. A couple of times, when she started touching on a male friend or similar topics, prompted me to exit the conversation. The agreement Sally and I drafted was signed by everyone. Although I was not present when Mary came to sign, Sally told me Mary found it hard to accept. We and Jeff had some disagreements on which credit cards should be paid by whom. I think that was his way of saving face. I assured Sally, if things get difficult, I would pay the bills. Eventually, we canceled all the credit cards and obtained new ones in our individual names. I have always kept regular communication with the children. They shared that their mother has accepted our divorce and seems a bit happier. I asked if she was dating. They told me she wasn't, despite she occasionally goes out with her female friends. I admit I recoiled when I heard that. I never had a heart-to-heart conversation with Mary. She longed for freedom to explore, which does not align with my beliefs. In my upbringing, you marry someone with the intention of building a lasting connection, not seeking new attractions. My parents have been married for over 40 years. So maybe we got married too early. She didn't have the chance to pursue what she was looking for. I have never explored the realm of sexual encounters. I was satisfied with Mary. Looking back at the past few years, I should mention that I did start dating again. I went out with a few women from work, most of whom were divorced. Due to my age, I held to one principle: never dating a married woman, even if she was separated. It's something I felt deeply. I did form intimate relationships with some of these women, but the feeling just wasn't the same. Although I respected them, my thoughts always lingered on Mary. It's funny how one can't just let go of the past and then move forward. I tried sincerely, but none of the women I dated resonated with me. The best times I had were at family events, when I could see Mary. One night last year, I went out with friends from work to a lively lounge, a place frequented by women. To my surprise, I saw her there. It looked like a ladies' night out. She was sitting with a group, but there were no men around yet. I didn't recognize any of the women with her. The only person from her work I had seen, Barb, was not present. I approached Mary from the side, wanting to surprise her. "Would you like to dance?" I asked. "Jerry, what are you doing here?" she asked. "Just hanging out with the guys, waiting for someone. Or willing to dance." I replied, "No, I mean not waiting for anyone. Yes, I would love to dance with you. Let me introduce you to my friends." She quickly listed a few names, adding that these ladies are part of our card club. Every 6 months we ditch the cards and go out for one night. Tonight just happens to be it. So, how about that dance? We walked to the dance floor, and I held her close. "It felt like old times, doesn't it?" I commented. She smiled at me as I held her tighter. After 2 slow songs, the band started playing an up-tempo tune. I have to admit I'm not very good at this kind of song. As I escorted her back to her table, when I left her there, she seemed a bit disappointed. "Ladies, nice meeting you. I'd better get back to my friends." Walking away, something felt off. I didn't want to see If someone approached her, I told my friends I had to leave. And I said my goodbyes. As I left and looked back, I saw Mary staring at me. The next day she called, expressing her joy at seeing me out. She enjoyed the time we spent together, and asked if I could help plan Amy's wedding banquet. My eldest daughter is getting married. It feels like only yesterday I was holding her in my arms. It felt a bit strange for Mary to call the next day, considering Amy's wedding is a year away. I suggested it might be too early, considering the distance and time. She explained that booking and planning need to be done in advance. I suggested she contact Amy to make preliminary plans. Once they have a written plan, I will handle the financial side of things. About a month later, I called her, asking how our plans were coming along. Carla answered the phone, telling me Mary was out with friends. Although I felt annoyed, I couldn't justify my frustration. After all, we had been divorced for over 2 years. Curiously, I asked Carla if Mary went out often. She mentioned about once a month. Feeling a bit uneasy, I called my friend Pete, who, like me, was divorced and enjoyed the company of ladies. We decided to go to the lounge. As soon as we entered, we found it packed with people. To my surprise, Mary was there, sitting with a mixed group of men and women, eliminating any worries. I decided to enjoy the night and find someone else to dance with. Seeing a young woman in her 30s, dressed very sexily, in a mini skirt and a funny show, PDE commented, "Damn, that's good. Look at those girls sitting alone." As I walked towards Mary's table, she noticed me, her mouth slightly open. I deliberately walked past her, towards the table of the charming young woman. "Would you like to dance?" I asked her. "Of course. I like older men, especially good-looking ones," she replied loudly enough for Mary to hear. We stood up, and I held her close, my arm around her, her breasts pressed against me. "I'm Jerry, you are a very attractive woman," I said, introducing the charming woman as Rachel. As we danced, I avoided looking at Mary, but I couldn't help but notice the man at Mary's table, playfully staring at Rachel's legs. I pulled her skirt a bit, giving them more to admire. The next song was a lively one, but Rachel and I didn't leave the dance floor, swinging to the rhythm. I knew this choice might affect Mary, as we had never danced to an up-tempo song together. A slow song played next. I took the opportunity to pull Rachel closer. My hand slid down once, gently squeezing on the dance floor. She responded with a smile. After the song ended, I escorted her back to our table, suggesting we might dance again later. "I would love to," Rachel replied. Pete had just rejoined our table. He had danced with another woman in our group. As I sipped my drink, Pete looked up and said, "Here comes a charming lady." Though he had never met Mary before, she was walking towards our table. "Would you like to dance with me?" she asked. I looked at Pete, pretending she was talking to him. Jerry replied to me. Standing up, I said, "It's my pleasure." I turned to Pete, introducing Mary as my ex-wife. Pete's jaw dropped, as he recalled calling her broad while dancing with her. While dancing, she asked what that was about. "She has been on you." God, if you had asked her on the dance floor then, she would have gone all out. "Aren't we divorced? You want me to be with other women, so you can be with other men." I retorted, "Jerry, please. You and I never discussed. I was wrong. Look, Mary, you were with other men, you know. You can only say I was wrong. Maybe I should do the same with that other woman. Then I can say I was wrong too. Besides, we are not married now. When you went on your adventures, you were my wife." My wife, Danette. A man approached Mary and me on the dance floor. questioning her why she chose to dance with me and not him. "You should be my date. You asked this guy to dance," he shouted. "You won't be with Mary tonight," I warned. Mary started to speak, but I interrupted. "Do you want to sit with me? Or go back to your boyfriend here?" Mary angrily broke away and returned to her table. I grabbed the interloper's arm, warning him. If he tried to do anything to her that night, I would find him and deal with him. As he retreated to his table, I released his arm. The two young women we had danced with earlier joined our table. We moved to a booth, becoming more intimate. Such treatment of women was not my norm. But Mary was watching, and I played along. I suspected Pete and the woman with him were getting increasingly intimate. These women were there for one purpose that night, and that was to hook up. The blonde woman next to me asked if we were ready to leave, saying she felt eager and desirous. I first asked her for a favor, pointing to Mary, who looked furious. I asked her to tell Mary her wish would come true that night. The blonde smiled and conveyed the message, then returned. By the time she could get up, we had already left. We ended up having an encounter with these two women at Pete's apartment. In fact, we even swapped partners throughout the night. The sex was enjoyable. But the next morning I felt a sense of emptiness. I realized what was missing: love. I turned off my phone. And when I turned it on, I found 10 messages from Mary. She was very angry, using all sorts of names. In one message, she accused me of ruining her night, which strangely made me feel good. Around 9 in the morning I called her. She was still unhappy when she answered the phone. She complained about what a terrible person I was, and how much I had hurt her. Then she suddenly stopped. "Do you know how it feels to know someone you love is intimate with someone else? That's the life you chose. You are free to be with anyone. So am I. To hell with love." As I ended the call, I could hear her crying. There was no contact for a few weeks, until one day she reached out to me. "Jerry, can we talk? I mean about everything. I know seeing me with someone else must have hurt, just like it hurt me to see you with that woman. I realize now what I did was worse. Mary, it's all over. Move on with your life, be with whoever you want. I don't care anymore. I just wanted you to experience how I felt. Jerry, I haven't been with anyone for 2.5 years. The last time was a month after you left me. It was not satisfying. There was no love involved. Then I realized, men were just using me. I am not that person anymore, Jerry. I was wrong, completely wrong. I can't prove it to you. I want to explain, but that lifestyle is not for me." It hit me when Joe asked if I was his little cutie. I slapped him hard. And when he tried to fight back, I kicked him. I don't want that life, Jerry. I want the life we once had. Mary, we are not married. I am free to make my own choices. By the way, whatever happened to your friend Barb? I haven't seen her around you lately. They are no longer part of the club. She got divorced from her husband. They tried swinging, thinking it would spice up their marriage. But her husband ended up leaving her. He left with another man's wife. 2 more marriages down the drain. Wanting to change the subject, I asked how the plans for Amy's wedding were coming along. You haven't shared much, and there are only a few months left. I know you know all the plans. Amy has discussed it with you many times. I am not afraid to be alone with you, Mary, I asserted. Oh really, I don't believe that. If you're not afraid, then go out with me. She teased. I don't think that's a good idea, Mary. It might give the wrong impression. People might think we are getting back together. I replied, Mary, I love you. But the pain of what you did to me and our marriage still remains. I can feel it every time I see you. When you cheated on me, you took a big part of my heart. I don't think it has healed. I don't know if it ever will. God, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing, she sighed. Jerry, I am the one who ruined our marriage. I lost the only man I ever loved. I will live with the guilt every day. I have thought about ending my life. But the kids would have to live with that. I've already hurt them enough. I hope that one day, maybe just maybe, we might get back together. I don't know what else to think. I've never spoken to her like this. Now hearing her confession, my thoughts are in chaos. I want her, I love her. Yet I hate what she did to me in our marriage. What if she's doing this to make me feel guilty? I need more information before I can trust her. Thinking about her ending her life is unbearable. For me, I used to believe I knew her well enough to detect any lies. But now I'm not so sure. I have to confirm the truth. But we have these thoughts from time to time. Thankfully we don't act on them. What do I have to say to her, but what? Mary, I'm hungry. How about joining me for lunch at Red Lobster? We can discuss what gift to give for Amy's wedding. For the next 30 seconds, all I heard was crying. Then a small voice said I would. Now, Mary, you must understand. This is not about any romance. Just lunch and a bit of chat about Amy's wedding. I understand, I could almost feel her smiling. I went to pick her up on the way. She was waiting there. On the porch, she looked stunning. Wearing a lovely outfit that showed off her beautiful legs. I stopped, and she almost ran to the car. Getting in with a smile. We stuck to light topics, avoiding heavy issues. She mentioned buying a dress for the wedding. And suggested I get a suit tailored. Without thinking, I asked Mary if she would come with me to see how I look in a suit. I haven't worn a suit since our wedding nearly 22 years ago. She looked surprised, as was I. It just slipped out. I was so used to seeking her opinion when we were married. Yes, I would love to come with you. Just let me know when. I can't take it back. So I told her next Saturday would work. I need to be careful. I might be getting myself into trouble. We sat at the table, both ordered iced tea. We always ordered the same thing. We had so much in common. Mary, there is something I need to discuss with you. It is crucial for me to hear the truth. I promise you, once you answer, we won't bring up this topic again. Are you serious when you mentioned? She gazed at me, a tear welling up in her eye. Don't worry, I won't cry. I've shed my share over the past 3 years. To answer your question, yes, I did consider suicide. I mentioned I went out once after you left. It may sound ridiculous. That was my way of seeking revenge on you. Revenge on me? I don't understand at all. I felt lost. Felt abandoned by you. I know it's not your fault. But my thoughts back then were not rational. I went out again to get back at you. It was not enjoyable. When things got worse, I decided to leave. It was then that he insulted me, calling me a slut. I reacted violently, hit him, kicked him, then cried and went home. The children were already asleep. I felt my life was over. I went in. Grabbed the whole bottle of sleeping pills. Just about to take them when Carla asked me if she could sleep with me. She said she needed me. Holding my little girl in my arms, she fell asleep. I broke down, and at that moment I prayed to God for help. A sense of calm washed over me. I realized my children needed me. Perhaps you will see the positive changes in my life and want me back. Her words brought tears to my eyes. Fortunately, our food arrived. We changed the subject, focusing on our meal. Later, I suggested going to see a movie. Chose a comedy to share some laughter. After dropping her off at home, she invited me in. But I declined, explaining I needed time to think. Before she left the car, she leaned over and kissed me. I didn't resist. It felt right. She said, I love you, Jerry. Please remember that. She left before I could say anything. Walking into the house, something seemed off. She had mentioned it twice. Now she was involved in swapping activities. Just another one a month after I left her. I wanted to believe her. But the pieces of the puzzle didn't fit. Firstly, joining a swapping club required having a partner. Who was her partner? It couldn't be this Joe guy. Because she swapped to be with him. Where was her man when she was fending off Joe? Then there was the possible suicide, as she repeatedly claimed. Yet she only revealed the sleeping pills to me. I wanted to believe her, but I needed answers. My main concern was, where did she go every month for 2.5 years? And with whom? The children never mentioned meeting anyone. Perhaps she was honest. I was just overly suspicious. All our spare time was dedicated to preparing for Amy's wedding. I did have lunch with Mary, Amy, my son Brad, and Amy's fiancé Ben. We were on our way to try on our suits. I felt like a penguin. But Amy and Mary insisted I looked handsome. Time flew by. Before I knew it, it was time for the wedding rehearsal. I went to the church. Did everything I was asked to do. No big deal, just Amy and I walking down the aisle. I added some fun elements, like hopping and skipping. Nothing inappropriate. Just enjoying the moment. I remember the minister mentioning, it would be different the next day. We might be nervous. So we should try to remember our roles. I thought, yeah. Walking down the aisle, then saying her mom and I. Wow, I thought, who can't do that? Afterward, we all went to a restaurant for dinner. I made sure to attend. It was one thing I didn't have to pay for. Before leaving to go home, Mary approached me. Jerry, see you tomorrow. The way she said it was somewhat special. I leaned in and kissed her. I don't know why, but I did. Perhaps it was the joy of the occasion. I can't put my finger on it. She smiled at me, and I left. I arrived at the church early as instructed. The bridesmaids and ushers were already there. Soon, the guests began to arrive. When Mary was escorted to the front row, looking unusually beautiful, her radiant smile struck me. I couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. How's my penguin today? She joked with a laugh. He's terrified. His daughter is getting married. His wife never looked more beautiful. I replied, realizing the truth in my words. It's okay, dear. Everything will be fine. You will do great. Just be careful not to step on Amy's dress. She comforted me with a smile. I went to the back of the church to wait for Amy. As she approached, tears welled up in my eyes. She looked like a younger version of Mary. It's okay, Dad. We can do this. Mom told me she loves you. Don't step on my dress. Her words made me laugh, reminding me so much of her mother. As we entered the sanctuary, Amy and I began our walk down the aisle. I kept telling myself not to step on Amy's dress. Tears filled my eyes as I escorted my little girl. Realizing the moment was a microcosm of life's essence. Love, family, and friends. We reached the front of the church, many with tears of joy in their eyes. Thankfully, I was not the only one. Moved by the profound emotions of the occasion. Who gives this woman to be married? The minister asked. Caught off guard, I pondered. Her mother and I. No, Mary and I. I finally answered. As I sat next to Mary. Her face a mix of smiles and tears. Leaning in, I whispered to Mary. I messed up a simple word, I messed up. Everything is okay, dear. You did well, Mary comforted me in a whisper. Throughout the entire ceremony, I held Mary's hand tightly, perhaps too tightly. She silently endured, not uttering a word. Sitting there with a smile and tears. When the service ended, I let out a sigh of relief. Although We still had to endure the traditional photo session and proceed to the reception. I felt the need for a drink and got one immediately. The atmosphere was lively. Everyone was having a great time. Amy and Ben were hailed as a lovely couple. People commented. It was nice to see Mary and me together. Every time she heard these comments, Mary just smiled, without saying a word. As the dancing began, there was a special dance for the bride's parents. Taking Mary to the dance floor, I began to dance. The crowd started clapping. Watching our child beaming with joy. Getting a thumbs up from my mom and dad. Seemed everyone had confidence in us except me. After the wedding, Mary asked if I could drive her home. I agreed. Upon arrival, she asked if I wanted to come in with her. I can't, the kids will be home soon. I don't want them to get the wrong idea. I explained that they already had the wrong idea. They are with your parents, sleeping in your bed tonight. Your only sleeping options are my bed or Brad's bed. She added with a smile. Will you open the door for me? I made an impromptu decision. She expressed her desire for me. So I chose to follow my heart. However, I remained cautious, not suggesting reunion, as I still had some unresolved questions. Walking up to her door, I opened the door. She invited me in. Jerry, there's no pressure to get married tonight. The future is uncertain. Yet I truly hope we can share an intimate night, just like the old days. Entering her place, we gradually undressed. She looked like the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. She attributed it to my rose-colored glasses. That night we repeatedly shared passionate moments. In the morning, after one last intimate encounter, she prepared breakfast. Jerry, I won't rush or force you. I will always be here, no matter how long it takes. Smiling at Mary, I deliberately left without kissing her goodbye. I wanted her to understand that although our connection was strong, I wasn't ready yet. Now I face a new dilemma. Mary and I explored a new aspect of our relationship. However, she has been without a partner for nearly 3 years. Something feels off. I can sense it, but I can't pinpoint the problem. Everything seems too smooth and convenient. Mary didn't mention rekindling the relationship for over 2 years. Suddenly in the last year she actively pursued me. I need more answers. Back at my parents' house, I found everyone had left. My dad noticed my unease, asking if everything was all right. I explained that something felt off. I needed to figure out what it was. Despite it being Sunday, I contacted my lawyer Sally. I detailed the situation to her. She also found it strange. Suggested I keep silent for a few days. She mentioned hiring a private investigator to unravel this mystery. Mary called on Monday to invite me for dinner. I declined with the excuse of a prior engagement, saying I needed to take care of some business. I didn't reveal my growing unease, as I tried to understand the situation. By Thursday, Sally urgently summoned me to her office. During working hours. Upon arrival, she shared some unsettling revelations. My suspicions about Mary were correct. She was involved in a swapping club. Her partner was Jeff, her lawyer. After I left, Jeff seamlessly took my place. Mary continued her lifestyle but concealed it from me. Out of curiosity, I asked Sally about Mary's motive. Re-entering my life after being apart for a year. With newfound freedom. Why disturb my peace? It's all about the money, Jerry. Over the past 3 years, she borrowed $100,000 on the home equity loan. Originally owed $60,000. Now you owe $160,000, Sally revealed. I asked in confusion how Mary could have gotten the funds without my signature. For the home equity loan, no. When you settled the credit cards, there was one for a cash equity loan. You can continuously borrow from it, up to a specified limit. Yours is almost used up now. Your friend Jeff sneakily overloaned that one past us. Once you agreed to pay the credit loan. There's no way to tell. I'm sorry, Jerry. I should have monitored that after the divorce was finalized. Usually we don't follow up unless asked. And Jeff certainly wouldn't ask. Sally admitted. That night I searched with her. I looked through the cabinet for her prescription medication. To my surprise, I didn't find a single one. So I contacted her doctor. He told me that he hadn't prescribed any sleeping pills in the past 3 years. He also mentioned that Mary attended all checkups. Visited every 3 months, instead of the recommended 6. I inquired about her STD tests. He assured me she had been tested. And was clean. I silently thanked my luck. Because that information, paying the medical expenses, at least gave me some clarity. So Sally, what's our next step? I asked. The only unresolved debt was the house. We will put a $40,000 line on it. If she sells it, you will recoup that portion of the equity. Unfortunately, the rest is a loss. Regarding the children, 2 are already independent. The other 2 are old enough to decide whether they want to live with your ex-wife, be with you, or live with your parents. We leave this decision to them. Jerry, considering you plan to leave this state, you may not be a significant factor. They might want to finish their studies here. Thank you for everything, Sally. I think it all depends on me now. Please freeze the equity of the house. If the children choose to live with my parents, transfer the child support accordingly. Back home, I had an honest conversation with my parents. I made it clear that a reconciliation with Mary was not possible. Even though my father knew the situation, I recounted as if he didn't. Mary's infidelity to me. Although I hoped she had changed, she continued to deceive. If she had told the truth, maybe we could have resolved our issues. I know it saddened my parents, but they needed to know the truth. I went to Mary's house while she was at work. Frankly told the children about their mother's infidelity. I omitted the more complicated details of our relationship. I had given Mary a chance to change, but she never did. Even after our wedding, I found out she was still lying. Forgiveness and trust are no longer possible. I don't see a future with her. Now I have to tell them. I'm moving to another state. They can choose to be with me, stay with their mother, or live with their grandparents. The 2 younger children expressed their decision to live with their mother. Although she might have boyfriends, she never brought them home. Carla assured me. She never saw unfamiliar men in the house. The only visitors besides relatives were Jeff, whom they had known for years. I couldn't let myself reveal that Jeff was one of her lovers. They all cried, expressing how much they would miss me. I promised them I would only be 5 hours away. I am available whenever they need me. They are always welcome to visit me. When are you leaving, Dad? Brad asked. Next week. Once I settle down, I will share my address and phone number. I love you all, and I will support you in every way. I called Mary at work, something I had never done before. Mary, let's meet at the tavern. I need to talk with you, away from the children. She told me she would be off work in an hour, and agreed to meet. I felt she thought her plan had worked, that we might reconcile. When she arrived, I began our conversation. Mary, I've been reflecting a lot. Due to Amy's wedding and our intimate encounters, everyone thinks we are getting back together. It's too soon for me. Do you realize no one knows why we divorced in the first place? I reviewed your life in the past 3 years. Where was the pain I felt when I discovered your infidelity? It seems almost non-existent. Yes, your financial situation caused some distress. But that's about it, she said with a hint of concern. The nights we spent together were unparalleled. You engaged in acts we had never explored before. I remember you used to think they were too explicit. Yet there you were, embracing them. It made me question. Where did you learn these new skills? Jerry, I can clarify, she replied. You assured me you hadn't been with anyone for 2.5 years. Why lie? You have girls' night out monthly. Turns out the women from work and your card club were also part of the swapping club. So it seems you've been involved all along. Your dalliances with other men led to our divorce. You never stopped. Explain yourself. Go home and tell the children why I left in the first place. Let them know. Your desires overshadowed our relationship. I've already spoken to them. God, Jerry. You didn't tell them about me, right? She asked. It's always about you, Mary, never about the children or me. I told them about your affairs and infidelity. Jerry, I'm sorry you left me. What choice did I have? I am a woman, in need of love. You don't need love. What happened the other night was love. What you're seeking is endless pleasure with multiple partners. Did you think I wouldn't find out? How naive do you think I am? What if you cheat again if we were married? Then it suddenly occurred to me. Your lover Jeff orchestrated this plan. Jeff, how did you find out about him? Oh my God, what have I done? What have you done? You've destroyed lives, including your own. You've lost a man who truly loved you and was considering reconciliation. Your children still live with you. But you've deeply hurt them. You lied, you cheated. Now you want to take from me the love I still have for you, lingering in my heart. Now what I see is a deceiver who would get involved with anyone. Think about what could have been in a few years. Your beauty will fade. Your children will leave, money will too. You might still have a string of old acquaintances. And of course, Jeff. She couldn't help crying at the moment. Jerry, I really love you. Please don't leave me. I'll go to therapy or do whatever it takes. I forgot to mention. I'm moving to another state, leaving next week. Thank you for the farewell encounter. You are indeed skillful in bed. But I think you know that. Just like God and countless others. Goodbye, Mary. Wish you a happy life. I suspect Jeff orchestrated this plan. Remarrying would invalidate our old agreement. Mary and Jeff manipulated me for a year for financial gain. Despite her monthly losses and increasing debt, she continued her extravagant lifestyle. Apparently she accumulated a lot of debt. What a foolish woman. I eventually moved on with my life. It used to sting, but I've left it all behind. Did I love Mary? Undoubtedly, but her betrayals were too many. It's been a few years, and I've met new people. She's a few years younger than me, beautiful, articulate, and fun. She mentioned she's divorced, with 2 almost teenage children. When I asked about her divorce, she revealed a cheating husband. He wanted that so-called good life, you know, including the style of others. That's not for me. I am a woman with only one man. I also have to consider what's best for my children. I told him to find such a woman. But that's not me. We dated for about a year, and I proposed. Look at me. She asked me what the marriage vows mean to me. To love, to honor, to obey. Till death do us part, for better or for worse. In sickness and in health. To be faithful to her alone. Except for the obey part, I can do all of that. I laughed, she knows my story. About my alphabet children, we laughed together. Her son is named Aaron, and her daughter is Faith. We got married, all my children attended the wedding. At first they were hesitant. Before the wedding they had already met my future bride. They saw the kind, gentle person I saw. Amy and Brad are already married, Carla is dating. Daryl and Carla are still in college. They understand I need someone in my life. Mom and Dad also attended the wedding. They fell in love with my bride. They know our lives are back on track. My wife looks stunning. Petite, extremely charming. The thought of any man wanting to share her with me is something I can't comprehend. After a brief honeymoon, we stopped at my parents' house on the way back. I took her to visit my hometown and the house I used to live in, which she had to sell because of Mary's debts. Fortunately, thanks to my lawyer Sally, I managed to get $30,000. Back home, we started a new life. It's a simple existence, but we found happiness. We cherish every moment. Our intimate moments are wonderful. We only had one problem, but we managed to solve it. You see, my new wife's name is Maria. I remember her looking at me, insisting that we needed to solve this problem. She didn't want me to call her Mary, so we decided to call her Dear. She made it clear. She didn't mind how others called her, but she just wanted to hear the word dear from my mouth. I jokingly asked if I could occasionally call her honey. She smiled and said that would be okay too. When we're intimate, you can call me whatever you want, except Mary. She said with a smile. I'm not sure how Mary is doing now. I've removed her from my life. The children mentioned seeing her living alone in an apartment. They think she's doing okay. About her dating life, they think she might be involved, but didn't talk much about it. They mentioned that when she heard I got married, she cried. Naturally, they love their mom and care about her. She'll be fine, they assured me. I just hope she's put some of her wild ways behind her. I think I'll never know. I clearly remember the last words she said to me. Jerry, I really love you. I think you know I'll wait for you. I believe you'll come back to me. I'll always be here, no matter how long it takes. My response to her was waiting forever is a very long time. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to today's story. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.